Hey guys, welcome back to the Faith Night podcast, and we're so excited you decided to join us for today's episode. Hey, I know it looks a little different, and we're doing something a little different today, but the impact is still the same, and so you don't have to worry about that because it will bless you. I've heard it before, and it blessed me listening to it, and I know it will bless you. Hey, before we jump into today's episode, hey, thanks you so much for those of you that have been partnering with us, for those of you who have been supporting us for so long. We truly, truly appreciate it. And hey, if you're new here, consider subscribing, because what you're doing is you're becoming the hands and the feet, the extension of this ministry to help us take this message of faith around the world to the people that need them. So hey, if you want to go ahead, you can follow the website that's linked below. Go on over to our website and you can go from there. But hey, when you partner with us, you're making sure that we get these stories of faith around the world and distributing them to the people that need them. That's all we are. We're a distributor of hope, a distributor of faith, and that's what you're partnering with. That's what you're partnering with us for. And so if something's going on in your life, hey, also, we want to know about it. Drop a comment below. We would love to see what God's doing in your life so we can be able to celebrate and rejoice with you at the same time. And so now that we have all of that out of the way, today's episode is a little different. Instead of the traditional setup that we usually have where it's two people in a mic just having a conversation, this one's a little different where we had a lady. She was able to share her side of the story. So we just kind of sat behind the camera as she kind of shared what God was doing in her life. And so, yes, it may get a bit emotional at times, but just understand what God is doing in her life and to see what he has done and what he's going to continue to do. Hey, and a quick disclaimer, there's a part of it that has a little bit of a audio distortion a little bit, so please disregard that, but everything else is fine. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys at the end of this episode. So, tell us about that day in question. Like, what exactly happened that day?
So that day I was scheduled to work with Rosa at BA North. I was running a little bit late, and so I was kind of speeding. I'm not going to lie, I was speeding. And next thing I know, I got pulled over. I thought that it was going to be just, another day. I thought he was going to just write me a ticket, and then I was going to be on my way. Well, as he pulled me over, he goes back to his car. He says that I have a ticket from Creek County that was $80 and was like, hey, because you have this warrant out for your arrest. Well, I found out the $80 and all that like later on, but he was like, because there's this warrant out for your arrest, we have to take you in. And I said, well, a warrant for what? I'm confused. And he said, well, you have a ticket from Creek County that we have to take you in for. And I said, okay. So we did. And yeah.
So what was that being like? So from that point on, when you realized, okay, like they're taking you in, what was running through your mind at that point?
I need to hurry up and get out of here.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to speed. No, not literally speed off. But I was like, okay, I need to immediately get a hold of my spouse, my parents. So I thought literally I was going to be in there maybe a few hours and then I was getting out. But no, being that it was a holiday, and I had to be transported from the Broken Arrow courts or jailhouse to, what is the name of it? Sorry. Over to a different location. Sorry. Then I had to then sit there for a while.
Okay. And so with that, so obviously we know, but for the people that's watching, so in this moment, in this season, what exactly were you doing as far as your relationship with God in that moment?
So the crazy part is, I hadn't been back to church in probably about 5 years, maybe 6, because I had gone through a divorce where we both had served at this church, Transformation. I probably shouldn't say that, but we both had served at Transformation, and around that time, like, I was going to church really heavy, so was he, and so after we separated or divorced, it was kind of embarrassing for me to be, like, back into church and feeling like, oh, okay, like, I was going to be judged. I didn't want to be a product of divorce or a statistic, because unfortunately my mom and dad are now divorced. So being a person who was really like on the track and trying to get us both on track with God, and then feeling like I did all I could, but then I failed. That was a lot for me. So around that time when all of that had happened, as far as me getting pulled over, going to jail for 5 days, I had just got back into transformation. So I started going to transformation, and then we were on this journey of fasting, which I had never fasted before. So I was really excited. We're getting ready and prepared, my spouse at the time and I, getting ready and prepared for it. And around that time, it started. So our fasting journey. So it was just different.
So in that moment where you are fasting, and then all of this goes down, what made you continue on, even though your entire situation is like, yeah, no, this is like, I'm supposed to be getting closer to God, but everything is going wrong?
I wouldn't say that it was all necessarily going wrong, but it definitely was a challenging time. I wasn't expecting things to go the way that it did in the journey. As I was fasting, or as we were fasting, what made me continue, believe it or not, like, sorry, ew. Gosh, no, sorry. Nope, not doing it. What made me keep going was, sorry, ew, okay. No.
It's okay.
What made me keep going was the constant, him showing his face, and the constant, like, him answering, sorry.
Okay.
Him answering me back and forth, like, I would pray about something and I would immediately hear, like, his voice, or, like, he would give me confirmation that things are going to be okay a lot of the times. Sorry. Hearing his voice constantly and him letting me know that I was going to get through it, although, like, I felt like I wasn't. And then once it was David Elmas, so I was in Broken Arrow jail for about a day and a half. And then I went to David Elmas for about 4 days, I think it was. Sorry, those days are long, ridiculously long. But I remember, like, being at David Elmas after they transported me from Broken Arrow to there. And I kept the fast, so that meant, like, we couldn't eat at a certain time. We could only have water. And it was weird because, like, it seems like the whole entire time, like, he was feeding me the whole entire time. Another thing that I noticed, the women there, so I was in jail with women, and I'm not laughing, but it was like, I was there for an $80 ticket, but I was also in there with people who was my soulmate, or my bunkie is what she called herself. She was in there for stabbing her husband, killing her husband. There were also women in there who had murdered their children, who was in there for fighting, robbery, just a number of things. So although I was so confused on, like, why I was there, I felt like there was a purpose. And throughout the whole entire time, women were like, hey, like, why are you walking around still with a smile on your face? Or, you're walking around like you're still praising, like you're still praying. And a lot of women, I'm not even kidding, were walking up to me asking me for prayer. One lady, she was like, I don't think I'm going to get out of here today, or I don't think I'm going to get out. Can you pray with me? And I would. And then next thing you know, it was like an immediate, I'm not even kidding. It's, sorry. And they were like, oh, I just got word from my bondsman, or I just got word from the judge. I had been waiting on word. Sorry. And did not hear anything or have not heard anything, and I'm finally getting answers. That, for me, did something so different. Sorry.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of women in there who seemed like they didn't have any hope or any faith. There were fights in there. There were people, like, it was not good. Like, it was scary. People were not always the nicest, but they were nice to me. They were not too much nice to each other. But again, like, just watching the atmosphere and the shift, because I do believe in the power of tongue. Like, I would speak in tongue. They would ask me, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, it's just a different language that I speak to God with. More of it all. Like, the shift and the change. People were getting answers left and right. Again, I was very frustrated and did not understand why I had to be in there for something so silly that I honestly thought I had taken care of. Like, seriously, I thought I had taken care of, like, all of my tickets. Because I do have a light foot. But, there was a different reason why I was in there, and I genuinely believe that. As hard as it was, like, there was a different reason why I had to be in there. And I am okay with that. But I feel like there's more that could be done.
So with that, so going through all of that, being in prison and being able to see these different women in different walks of life, and being able to see, like, what you're in there for versus what they're in there for. At what point did things started to turn around for you?
Ooh, like, for the better?
Yeah, like, at what point did you notice things started changing and things started turning for you at that point?
I think things started changing at that point, like, for the better, in my opinion, was when I got to see a lot of those women who I felt like was scared to, one, talk about God, two, to even ask for prayer, or to let down those walls of being like this big bad person, and just taking the time to actually see maybe the light that he was maybe shining in me. I don't know, but I think the turning point for me was being able to see these women, one, get their prayers answered so quickly, because it was weird for myself to actually see that and be like, this is weird. Like, I know this is what they're telling me, and I would even see some of the defenders, I guess you would call them, come in and be like, hey, I'm sorry it took, X, Y, and Z amount of time to come and see you, but here now. Just, again, seeing, like, the light shine in these women. Maybe it wasn't that big to anybody else, but, like, to watch it being, like, even the size of, like, a pencil lead, like, that was big enough for me. So, yeah.
So now we're on the home stretch now at this point. So you're about to be released. You're set to leave. how did how did God answer your prayer even after you had left? Like, what were the things some of the things you were believing for, and then how did God meet you on the other end of that?
Again, I think a lot of the answered prayers, as far as like these women, maybe, I feel like it sucks because I didn't keep up with a lot of them, and I said I would. So I feel like I failed in that area. But like as far as afterwards, I had missed work for a long time, 5 days. That was a long time for me. I had missed work for 5 days, which meant no pay. Which meant I was going to be having to find different ways of like, okay, I'm going to have to work more hours. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do that. My ex-spouse at the time, which Rosa, she was my manager at the time, and she was keeping up with her a lot. I thought I was going to be losing my job as I was in jail. Didn't even speak about that. I wanted to speak about the women a lot, but let's talk about that. I thought that I was going to be losing my job because I had basically just started that job. I was really nervous to contact Rosa because I was like, oh, there's nothing that could be done, or, you know, I'm just going to lose my job, honestly. And it was not something that I ever wanted to lose because, like, MedWise has been everything. But also the people that I have met at MedWise, I feel like was ordered. But I know I was like, hey, can you contact her? She reached out to her, and they kept in contact. Rosa did a very good job at making... Sorry, don't look at me. Ew. Sorry. I can't.
Okay.
No. I can't do my notes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Toughen up, Buttercup. Okay. So, my spouse at the time was keeping up with Rosa, just letting her know everything that was going on. And again, I thought that, like, nothing was going to work. Like, I was going to lose my job. It was going to be what it was. I was also worried because, like, to be transparent, like, we had savings, but not enough in our savings, if that makes sense. And so when I got out, I immediately, like, because my spouse at the time was keeping up with Rosa, I still had my job, but all I knew was, like, immediately, like, I'm going to have to start picking up shifts, I'm going to have to do this, I'm going to have to do that. Because I did put some hardship on my spouse at the time with this situation going on. And, yeah, sorry. So, after that, all we could do at that point was basically pray and figure out, like, what's next. We didn't really have a plan at that point. But through you guys in Faith Ignite, it all came and fell into place perfectly. And I don't know how. I know how, but sorry, God. What do you have for something else? Ask me more. I feel like all I'm doing is crying. This is
You're good. You're good. This is your moment.
so. Wasn't expecting anything more, but to basically pick up where I left off, which is what I need to do is work more, work harder, do what I have to do. And then you guys reached out. I was at church. I was at church. You guys reached out and was like, hey, we just wanted to talk. We thought that we were just going to be having a conversation with you guys. But all that worrying that we were doing, it was God's way of saying, like, what are you worrying about? Like, I'm about to take care of you. Like, you're sitting up here worrying and you're doing this fasting and you're supposed to be trusting in me. And I really genuinely was. But I also was putting things in my own hands. I was putting things in my own hands and just, again, doing what I knew to do, which was pick up hours and shifts. But then you guys came through. Again, we did pray as far as, like, what are we going to do? I tried not to worry, like my spouse at the time, but I did do a lot of praying for myself, like asking him to come through, like, hey, like, this is not easy. I don't really know what to do next. And then it worked out. Oddly enough, it just worked out. Was not expecting it. Did not know it was coming. Did not know you guys even had all of this going on, which was amazing. It came at sorry. Ew, I'm not doing it. Can I say something else?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, you guys helped me in that. Yes, you guys helped us in that situation, but do you guys know the meaning of the name of y'all's group? That's just like the beginning. Like, yes, I had faith, but like, that was like a spark of the flame. Because, like, I've gone through so much this entire year. But God has been so good to me. He's been so good to me. Left and right. Since that very day, it's been left and right. I've not had a break. So yes, that ignited faith to a whole different level. From that day forward and on, like, I've had nothing but crazy faith. The amount of faith that I've had, just amazing. Like, but because I've had faith from that day forward, nothing has been able to really just like take me out, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
So now that we're past that, we've seen God's goodness. What does What's next in store for Gerriun? What is Gerriun looking forward to next? What's on the horizon? What's brewing inside her spirit?
What's brewing inside my spirit is me getting closer and to have a better relationship with God. What does that look like? I have a tendency of doing my own will versus his will that he has for me in my life. And I am so serious and passionate when I could say, like, no more. Because I've come to find out a lot that not my will or anybody else's will on this earth is better than his. We have been learning about being obedient, and I've been talking about obedience a lot. So to become more firm as he is in me, like, he could have given me free, man. I'm sorry, I can't. God. The amount of chances that he continues to give me, although I'm not deserving of it. Because I'm not deserving of it. Like, I shouldn't even honestly be here. But I know that, like, he has something, like, purpose for me on this earth, and I have not 100% figured it out, but I'm trying. And the first step is me to listen, is him to allow him to really take the reins. My faith has grown a lot because I see what he's doing. Trusting because I have it really bad. I have issues with trusting. So, yeah.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this episode. If you made it this far, obviously you probably shed a tear once or twice at some point during that episode. But it was powerful to see what God has done in Gerriun's life, to see what He has brought her through, and to see where He's taking her. And so, hey, again, like I said in the beginning, if this content has helped you, shaped you, motivated you, build your faith up, hey, consider subscribing. Become a part of the family, the Faith Ignite family, so you can constantly receive faith messages, faith stories of all walks of life, so your faith can be encouraged in God. And hey, if you're new here, again, consider subscribing so you can become a part of what we're doing. And if you want to take it one step further, you can go to our website that's linked down below, and you can become a partner with us and become an extension of this ministry so that we can continue to be able to take these stories to the people that need them all around the world. And so until next time, my name is Devon Williamson, and this has been Faith Ignite. We'll see you guys next time.